it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are again going to be creating one of my go-to cards. This is a go-to sympathy card or thinking of you card, and again this is one of those ones that tends to fly out the door with my friends and family who are able to just take cards from my stash and they use it for their own stash, or they can pop it in their own stash. And I think they like these ones just because they are quite generic and they work for anybody and kind of any type of occasion or person that they need to send it to. So I'm going to be using some Gina K masking paper today. This is my favorite, but you could also use some just copy paper with some removable adhesive on it. However, when I want something extra reliable, I always go for this Gina K masking. It holds up to so much ink, which is fantastic, and never ever bleeds through, which is so important because that can ruin your project in a heartbeat. So I am going with the ripped look. If that's not your thing, then you can obviously go with some straight lines. And then I'm just sectioning off kind of a good portion of the middle there. We are also going to be doing some stamping with water, some water stamping today, and that is going to create some really fun effects too. Today I'm going to be using some Distress Oxide inks and my finger daubers. I find finger daubers my easiest, quickest method of colouring. If you need to cover lots and lots of big space, then it might be easier to do it with like a domed blending tool, but I just find with these ones it's fine. I'm going with a combination that is not super common for me. I'm using pine needles, then Mermaid, Lagoon, and then Lucky Clover. It's always fun to try a new combination that I don't always kind of is not my go-to, and I think these work pretty well together. Now, as I said, I'm going to be doing the water stamping technique today, but if you didn't have this, then you could just do stamping with a darker color on top of this, or you could do some stamping with embossing powder and then use a white or a clear embossing powder and do it over top of that. Lots of different options, but I just haven't done water stamping for a long time and I like the look for this particular technique. So this is the Magnolia's stamp from Pinkfresh Studios, and there is a die set that goes with this as well. However, I just picked up the stamp set because most of these images look like I could fussy cut them without too much trouble at all, and I do like to prefer to fussy cut. I am very selective about what things I choose to fussy cut. I don't like to be there forever, and I choose carefully. So when I am picking a stamp set, that definitely comes into my decision making. So I'm going to pop these stamps down. I am using a stamping platform for this. I just find this the easiest way in case I need to restamp it again. Now I'm using this fine water mister. This is a continuous mister and it gives the finest, most even, gentle mist, and that is what I need when it comes to water stamping. And then I press it down. You need to hold it there for a second or two to give it some decent contact with the ink, and then as you lift it off and it kind of starts drying, it will appear more and more. And then if you dab it up with a little paper towel, you'll notice that the pattern starts to come through even more after that. Of course, you need to remember that you need a water reactive ink if you are choosing to use the water stamping method. And if you want to, if you are using acrylic blocks, or even if you pop another piece of paper in your stamping platform, you can also actually, once you have pressed down into your ink and then take the lid back off, then you can actually get an impression because there will be ink left on your stamp. I have another video on my channel where I have shown that, and you kind of get a 2-for-1 deal, and it gives this gorgeous kind of watercolor stamping look. It's absolutely beautiful. But for me today, I was just focusing on this one technique, and that's okay. Sometimes it's okay just to do one at a time rather than going through and making lots and lots of cards at the one time as well. At this point, I am good to peel off my masking paper. I can keep this. It is very reusable and no bleed through it well. I love those crisp, clear lines. I also like using the torn paper kind of on both sides, and you can see how it just looks like there's a nice kind of strip running through your card front. It kind of looks like it was, you know, I like that it matches up on each side. Now I have the Botanic Borders with Sentiment stamp set here. This is an old favorite of mine and I absolutely love it. I love this range, and for some reason all of these sentiments are kind of the perfect height, width and font and text every time I come to do something. So I have got the little thinking of you here. Now this is looking pretty plain and simple at the moment, but we are going to do something at the end that I think just takes this to the next level, especially since it is a thinking of you cut. So I'm just using some VersaFine Onyx black ink because some of this is going to stamp over top of my inking that I have already done. You could definitely add this on a little strip of white cardstock or something if you wanted it to stand out a bit more from the background, but I think using the black ink does a pretty good job as is. I stamped it a couple of times. I need to re-ink my VersaFine, and so I will do that after every time I watch these videos, and I think I must re-ink that. And then I am going to cut this down a little bit, which I know seems a little bit of a shame, but I pretty much keep all of my scraps these days because there are so many videos. I have lots on my channel, but even on YouTube in general, there are so many amazing videos with what to do with scraps and strips that you cut off from the excess of your cards and things like that. Even if you kind of can't see it at the time, if you think, I don't think I'd use that one, often there will be really fun ways. So you should have a bit of a YouTube or a Google, and I'm sure that you would find lots of really fun ways to use those. Save them up for a little bit, and then they'll make some fantastic cards. I rounded off a couple of corners here. Then I'm going to use a little bit of foam tape to pop this up a little bit. This is a very kind of clean and simple almost card, so a little bit of foam tape can go a long way. If you don't want to do that, I also think it looks fine without, because you can see the difference between the two, kind of the border and the background card, and I really like that look too. So whatever works for you. Now, as I said, this is pretty kind of plain at the moment, and that's okay. A few things that you could do from here would be adding on a few water droplets or gems, something a little bit iridescent or white or clear, something like that. But I decided just to come in with a white pen. This one happens to be the Uni-Ball Signo pen. I buy these in a 3-pack, and I think I got this one from Joggles. I got a gold, a silver, and a white in a packet, and we are just going to add a few finishing details. And because these are oxides, they're going to pick up a little bit of the color from the background, but I think they kind of stand out enough in the end that it looks really nice. I'll add some dots and bits and pieces to go with it, and then this card is pretty much going to be finished. As I said, I'm keeping this one really nice and clean and simple, but I think that this is a really go-to card for lots of the people who use my stash just because of that exact reason. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have enjoyed this. What are the type of thinking of you or sympathy cards that you prefer to create? What are your go-to kind of simple, not too complex cards? I would love to know. Let me know down in the comment section down below. Other than that, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.